guys, Steve the drummer coming at you today, making the video that I kind of hoped that I would never make. I'm going to call this one Likes, Dislikes, and Copyright Strikes. You know, in the world we live in today with things being so divisive and divided, I always try to keep my internet presence in the very most positive light that I possibly can. I never want to make a negative comment to anyone. I never want to present any negative content on YouTube because I feel like there are so many other negative things out there. I want to do things different. I always want to keep things positive. And so that being said, though this could be viewed as a negative topic, I'm going to try to put a very positive spin on it. The first thing I want to talk about, I call, is actually the last thing in the title, copyright strikes. I guess more to the point, I'm just going to say blocked videos. And I've kind of gotten a rash of blocked videos here recently. And so I wanted to talk about that a little bit. And I think I operated my drum cover channel for a long time under the impression that if I used drumless tracks, that I would probably have far less issue with blocked videos than if I didn't. And the theory being that somebody's already taken someone else's material and posted that, and I'm just basically taking that and adding on to it and reposting what they've already done. And I would have to say that for the most part, that's fairly true. Throughout the roughly year-and-a-half history of my channel and roughly 150 or so drum covers, most of the early stuff that was all drumless tracks did not get blocked, and more of the copyright issues and blocked videos have come more recently, mostly with original tracks that I'm doing drum overs to. So I'm just going to read you the list of blocked videos. And actually the one that motivated me to make this video I found really comical because you know, first and foremost, I'd like to say, obviously, as all of you know, I was not in the Eagles. I am not Don Henley. I was not in Led Zeppelin. I am definitely not John Bonham. I wasn't even in the Beatles. I'm not Ringo Starr either. And a lot of those works could be looked at in a very artistic sense. And so by no means am I trying to say that everyone should be able to take other people's material and just use it freely. But I guess the one that really made me chuckle was I recorded a version of the B-52's Love Shack, and I have a lot of covers that aren't public, and I looked today and lo and behold, Love Shack, which is I'm just going to go ahead and say it, it's a really cheesy song. Now, I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm from the 80s. I am Mr. Cheese in a lot of ways, so I don't mean that in a derogatory sense. But I've got to say, if the B-52s are concerned about the artistic value and the artistic expression of Love Shack, then I just don't really know what the world's coming to here. But here's a list of songs that have been fully blocked. Love Shack, Moondance by Van Morrison, Sweet Home Chicago by the Blues Brothers, Sin City by AC/DC. All four of my cult covers have been blocked. Love Removal Machine, Wildflower, Little Devil, and She Sells Sanctuary. I Stop the World and Melt With You by Modern English. One that I find really comical, because when I first posted the cover, and this was probably the second or third cover that I ever posted, it was blocked immediately. Don't Stop Believin' by Fleetwood Mac was initially blocked for probably at least 9 months, going on a year. And then I looked one day, and lo and behold, it wasn't blocked anymore. And so I tried to promote the video a little bit. It got a few views. I've included it on a couple of playlists. And we went along like that for, I don't know, maybe a month and a half or so. And then, bam, it got blocked again. And so then I just happened to look the other day when I discovered that my Love Shack artistic video had been blocked. I looked, and Don't Stop Believin' has been unblocked again. So now in the course of a year and a half, this video has been blocked twice and unblocked twice. So stay tuned tomorrow and see what happens. I've also got a list of songs that are partially blocked, blocked in some countries. They include You May Be Right, Billy Joel, Here I Go Again by Whitesnake, Dancing With Myself by Billy Idol, Just What I Needed by the Cars, and China Grove by the Doobie Brothers. So I guess, maybe it bears mentioning take a moment to talk about why would we cover why would we cover songs? And you know, honestly, when I look at the whole YouTube thing, I started playing the drums back in the 80s, well before YouTube and really before the internet. So this is kind of a new thing for me, new as in like the last year and a half or 2 years or so. You know, back in the day when we learned to play our instrument, we learned to play our instrument probably in our bedroom or in a storage shed or somewhere off removed, and we played along to records. We put a record player on or a cassette tape or something along those lines and put on headphones, and we would play along to that, and that's how we learn songs. But you know, we certainly didn't go publishing that, you know, or posting that in a very public way like we do today with today's social media. That's just the way we learned, and then we took that, what we learned, and joined bands and applied what we learned playing along to records to playing with bands and to playing with other musicians. Today, I think is I don't know, it's an odd time period. And I participate in it obviously just as much as the next guy, but you know, we're basically publicizing ourselves playing along to records. You know, but let's just think for a second. What are some reasons to why do I have a YouTube channel, and why am I playing covers? And I've got to say there's 3 or 4 basic reasons for me. Number one, there's some bands that I've really enjoyed growing up with, and listening to, and so you know, I like to pay tribute to the artist. I like to pay tribute to the song. That's reason number one for making a cover. Number 2 is I do play in a handful of bands, and I'm tasked often with learning new material, learning new songs, and making covers of those songs is a really good way to learn the song. The next reason is there's some songs that I have never had an opportunity to play in a band. Big example for me is all the 80s hair metal. The Whitesnake, Rat, Motley Crue, Dokken, Poison, all that stuff. I have never had an opportunity to play that stuff in a band, and most of you guys do play in bands, and so you fully know and understand what I'm saying here. But for the handful of people that have not played in bands, playing in a band is a compromise. When you choose material in a band, first and foremost, you need to choose material that your singer can sing, and sing well. And then next off, not only does the drummer have to be able to execute the parts, but the guitar player has to be able to execute the parts. The keyboard player has to be able to execute the parts. There may be songs that you just don't have the right instrumentation for. I mean, who in the world, honestly, can legitimately cover songs by bands like Chicago with a big horn section? I mean, I've played in a lot of local bands and a lot of small time bands, but I've never played in a band that had a full-on horn section that could cover that range of material. So I say that to say, you know, another reason to do covers is there's songs that you may never get the opportunity to actually perform that song because you just don't have the right musical group with the right instrumentation and come to the compromise of wanting to do that song. You know, I'd like to also say that as you guys probably know, I never monetize anything. Number one, I can't. I have less than 200. I have way less than 1,000 subscribers, and I'm sitting just south of 250 right now. And I don't have the 4,000 minutes of watch time per year and all that stuff. And frankly, I really don't want to monetize my YouTube channel. And I'm not knocking people that do. I know that there are some really good content creators out there that do monetize their channel. And I've got to say, you know, if that's your thing, more power to you. But I do this for fun, not for money, and so I'm not looking to monetize this in any way, shape, or form. So if I do perform a cover and there's any money, there's any monetary transaction that takes place, that money goes to the artist. If you watch one of my videos and for some strange reason an ad pops up or something like that, that money is going to the artist, not to me. And quite frankly, as it should. I mean, I'm not looking to do this for money, and I didn't write the song, and I didn't record the song, and I don't own the song. And if the members of the original band and their recording label want any type of revenue off of that, well, that's their prerogative and their right, and they're fully entitled to that. And I don't have the first problem with that. But I guess what I will say is that I think that bands today risk becoming irrelevant. Now, I want you guys to stop and think about, today we think about music in our own particular mindset, our own way. We all probably have certain artists that we like, certain genres of music that we like, certain styles of music. And that, probably, I don't think any one person just likes one style. We probably all like lots of a variety of music. But, let's think back 100 years ago in the late 19 teens and coming into the 1920s and 1930s. There was this really, really radical music called jazz. Actually, it started off as Dixieland and it evolved jazz and big band and swing and bebop and all these different subgenres basically of jazz. Now, I think if we today in 2019 look back at jazz, we look at it as some maybe, I don't know, I'm not going to speak for everybody, but there could certainly be a perception that it's kind of square. It's not necessarily all that radical or cool. It's not very punk rock or rock and roll, or it doesn't have that attitude. But in reality, in 1920 and 1930, it did. The people that were performing that music and the people that were listening to that music were basically the Green Days of today. And I'm not saying that in a derogatory sense towards either the 1920s and 1930s and jazz artists or Green Day. I'm saying that, I'm just trying to make a comparison here. And I think, and I'm not trying to say this in a bad way, but you look at Benny Goodman, Glenn Miller, Count Basie, Louis Armstrong, Frank Sinatra, a lot of that stuff to some degree is irrelevant today. It is completely irrelevant. Great drummers, Gene Krupa, Buddy Rich, awesome drummers, awesome artists. They are irrelevant. They shouldn't be, but they are. I feel as though, and I fear as though, today, the artists of 50 years ago, the artists of 40 years ago, the artists of 30 years ago, the artists that we look at as pillars of rock and roll are on the verge of becoming just as irrelevant as the jazz artists of the 1920s. The Beatles, Led Zeppelin, the Eagles, Fleetwood Mac. If people don't keep that tradition of rock and roll alive, it's going to die just as much as jazz did. The John Bonhams and the Keith Moons and the Ian Paces are going to be just as relevant as the Gene Krupas and the Buddy Riches, which is to say not very relevant at all, because that style of music, unfortunately, is being allowed to die. And I would have to say that today, the computer is actually more relevant than the electric guitar. And how sad is that? And honestly, and people may think that can't happen, but how relevant today is the cornet? That was Louis Armstrong's main instrument. And today, it's non-existent and an afterthought at best, maybe as a little liner note or touch in a certain song. I feel as though we are at a point today where we are possibly witnessing the extinction of rock and roll. And I think that's sad. So if you work for the record company, or if you work on behalf of the artist, or you are the artist or the record company, by all means, you have every right to block my videos. And quite frankly, I can see where you may be tired of seeing me butcher your songs, and I could certainly understand and relate that you would want to block that material from getting out. And you own it, it's your right. But I will say, be careful, because you are risking irrelevance, not from me, but from the masses. The last thing I want to talk about is likes and dislikes. And I've been very, very fortunate to be a part of a drumming community. I kind of fell into it very soon after I started, just a couple of months after I started my channel. And there are a group of guys that it seems like every time any of us post a video, we always get on there and comment to the positive. We find positive things and we comment to the positive, and all, and I feel like I'm a part of a very supportive group. And the first thing I'd like to say to that is, number one, thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the positive things that you say and the ways that you build me up and all the likes. Now, the other side to that is I've been hit a little bit here recently with the dislike fairy. Now, I don't have a problem with that. If you don't like the video, it's a free country. It's a free, by all means, press the dislike button. Hell, I'll press it for you. But I will say this, and I will ask this. If you do press the dislike button, which I encourage you to, just drop a comment. Let me know. And it doesn't even have to be a complete sentence. It could just be mix or bad drumming or not right, or I don't know. It doesn't have to be a complete sentence. But do drop me, sounds like crap. I don't know. Do drop me a comment if you could. I think if you were so inclined as to look back through my channel at my responses to comments, I do my very, very best to encourage constructive criticism, constructive feedback, and try to respond to that in a very positive way. So, if you're inclined to hit the dislike button, if you got a moment, just let me know why you feel that way. So I'd just like to wrap this video up by saying thanks so much for stopping by. Thanks for checking out my content. If you like what you see, please press the like button, subscribe to the channel, leave some comments. I'd love to interact, and I'd love to hear from you real soon.